Dricus du Plessis, thanks so much for your time on Fox Sports Australia, mate.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's been an incredible rise for you, former KSW champion, and of course 2-division EFC champion as well, but you've really taken this promotion by storm. 5 wins, 4 finishes. How would you assess your time in the UFC so far?
Yeah, it's been a crazy ride from the debut, and then like for a year we couldn't fight. You know, I had my first 2 fights for a year. I couldn't fight with COVID and all of that, and then all of a sudden everything opened back up and I could just start raking in fights and wins. It's been amazing to find my feet in the UFC, because that first couple of fights really it was a little bit hard, because you're in this massive arena fighting in Vegas and finally getting your shot. So in the beginning it was almost everything happened so fast, and my performances could have been better, but then I started finding my feet in terms of the big lights and facing guys like Darren Till, facing Derek Brunson, and finding Robert Whittaker for #1 contender.
Yeah, well, just on Robert Whittaker, he is the former champion, a national sporting hero back home, and in fact his only 2 losses really in the last decade have been to the current champion. Why do you think you can beat Robert Whittaker?
Yeah, 100%. Robert Whittaker is an exceptional athlete and a fan favorite, and like you said, a sporting hero in Australia, and rightfully so. He deserves all of that credentials. But at the end of the day, for me, I'm coming in, and I'm one of the first contenders he's facing that hasn't been to the champion. When he fought Vitri, when he fought Cannonier, when he fought those guys, they've all been, even a guy like Darren Till, they've been beaten, and Gastelum, they've all been beaten by the champion. So he was fighting not at all any washed up guys, not at all. He was just a guy to face, because they just know if you give a contender to Whittaker before the champ, he's going to beat them. So without Adesanya, he is the champion for the last decade. But he's been facing these guys that have been beaten by the champ. And it's, mentality-wise, these guys are already beaten, and they know Whittaker, the win is not going to get them the title shot. It's going to get them another fight towards. So, motivation-wise, that does affect some guys. For me, this is on my way up. This is my world title fight. I need to beat Whittaker to get that title shot. I haven't gotten the shot yet. So that's what makes me different than all the other contenders that he's faced.
No, that is a great point. But speaking of unblemished records, your streak is, near unblemished as well. 19 wins, 18 of them coming by way of a finish. What is it about you, Dricus, that makes you so dangerous? What is it about your fight style that your opponents can't seem to handle that leaves them unconscious?
Yeah, I think for me, when I go out there, I truly believe I put in a tremendous amount of work when I train for a fight. I've never gone into a fight unprepared. I always try to be more prepared and put in more work. And all this work we're doing, all this hitting the pads, wrestling, grappling, all of this, I'm not going in there. And a lot of people say fight smarter and to use your energy wisely. I'm not going in there to do that. When I go in there, I have 15 minutes or 25 minutes where I want to leave every single bit of me in that cage, and I want to go as hard as I possibly can. And also a motivation is these people paying a lot of money to see these fights. Yeah. And people, let's be honest, no matter how good a fight is, people want to see guys getting knocked out or getting choked out. And every time I go out there, I realize the responsibility I have for the people buying pay-per-views, the people sitting in the stands, and ultimately giving them that entertainment that they are paying for and that we as athletes promise them to give.
Yeah. Well, Dana White has stated his desire for the winner of this fight to face Israel Adesanya in Sydney in September. Now, that's 2 months away. It's a very quick turnaround. So with that in mind, are you hunting a first-round finish against Robert Whittaker?
Not at all. That fight is not in my mind. I have only one thing in mind, and that's Robert Whittaker. And, a guy like Robert Whittaker, if anybody in the world would go and say, he's already thinking about the fight after Whittaker, it would be stupid. It's not something I even close to consider. I have one person, one opponent, and one fight on mine, and that is the fight happening on Saturday.
Well, similarly, Robert Whittaker has told me on this show that he fully understands the danger that you pose, and he refuses to underestimate you as maybe some of your previous opponents have. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, and that is exactly why he is in ranking and in regard where he is, right at the top. Everybody knows he's dangerous because he's a martial artist and he is a fighter, and he is somebody that respects opponents and respects the sport in the way where you can talk smack all you want, but if you start believing your own hype and you start thinking you are so good that your opponent can't do anything to hurt you, that is when you are reaching trouble zone. And he will never be in that zone, because you can see that, because he's always prepared, he's always in good shape. And I didn't even for one moment think that maybe we get a not in shape or not a perfect condition Whittaker. I know when Whittaker steps in there every single time, it's the best version of himself, and that's why he's where he is. And I know he's not underestimating me, and good for him on that. And that's why this will be such an amazing fight.
Well, Dricus, I mentioned that you have achieved championships in other promotions, but how much would this strap mean to you to become a UFC champion?
This is the only thing that really means anything to me. It's everything I do every day of my life revolves around this sport, revolves around being the world champion and leaving that legacy of being the greatest to ever do it. That is my goal, that is my mindset, and this belt is everything that I work for the past, for this past 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
My whole life has been going and revolving around being the UFC middleweight champion.
It's Australia versus South Africa yet again. It's quite a rivalry that we've developed, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Tri-nations all over, and on fight day, the Wallabies are playing the Springboks in Loftus in Pretoria, South Africa. So it's a big weekend for Australia in sports, and also a massive weekend for us in South Africa. So it's a great sporting nations, both of them, and I, obviously being biased, thinking we're going 2-0 against Australia, but best of luck to you.
Absolutely. Just make sure he doesn't have any sandpaper in his gloves. Dricus du Plessis, thanks so much for your time.
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you.